Hello, folks. I've got kind of an important message for, well, America for that matter. Um, Socialism will never, ever work in this country or any others. So people that are thinking about Bernie Sanders as an option because he's so-called scandal-free, forget it. It'll just lead this country into bankruptcy. And I don't mean just a little bit of bankruptcy. I'm talking about food lines and half the country starving to death. For those of you that support socialism because you think it's fair, I understand that you're coming at it from a position of caring. Well, most of you are anyway. The problem is it won't work, and it never will work. For those of you that support socialism, I have a question. Do you even know what it is? I mean, seriously, do you know what socialism is? What are the founding principles of socialism? What does it mean? Well, basically it means that the rights of the many outweigh the rights of the few, as a basic rule. So, under that rule, it's kind of a shared system where nobody is allowed to make a profit because that would give them power over other people. So everybody is equal. The problem is that it doesn't work because an economy can never grow. The reason the economies can never grow under socialism is because there's no competition. Competition spurs innovation. You can't have a system where the government just chooses what products to sell. I mean, that's just foolishness. I mean, what? One guy in the government is going to choose what kind of game to make, or television to build, or car to make? Let me ask you a question. What is Russia's best car? Can you tell me? No? Best computer? Best iPod? Or iDevice, or whatever. Phone? Yeah, it's because they don't have anything but cheap knockoffs. The reason for that is they're not allowed to compete with one another to better their products. Another thing is they want to have a system where you have a wage cap. Nobody owns property because if you own property, you can amass wealth. Well, the problem with that is you're always subjected to government-style housing unless you get some kind of a waiver. And we all know how government housing works around here. Just look at the projects, for God's sakes. Besides that, wage caps don't really work anyway, because you're going to take all the money away from the rich and then give it to the poor. Yeah, it's a great sounding principle. It sounds like it's fair. It sounds like it's good for the little guy. The problem is where the rich's money is. You see, the rich invest their money. So you're not taking it out of their basement or underneath their mattress. You're taking it directly away from the businesses that they're invested in. So if you were to say tomorrow, we instantly go over to socialism and say, okay, you're only allowed to have $200,000 a year on a top-tier job, $100,000 a year on an upper management level job, and $50,000 a year on a labor job. And those are your wage caps. And everything else goes to the government. Well, first thing, the government would get a glut. So they would go out and spend, and oh yeah, great, we have all this money to spend on programs and things like that. Well, then the problem is that all the money that was invested in the stock market is now gone, because that's where the rich had their money, in the stock market. And okay, well, the government will just replace all that money that was in the stock market with the money they got from the rich. Well, then you have the government, whoops, sorry, cat. Then you have the government trying to choose stocks. Well, the problem with that is they're not very good at it. You see, the reason the rich are rich is because they're good at investing their money. And the government is notoriously bad at invested money. All you have to do is take a look at Social Security and you could figure that one out. Social Security does not have an interest rate increase. I mean, even if you put your money in a savings account, over the course of the amount of time that you would put into Social Security, you would have twice as much as you would in your Social Security account. It's just foolishness. And the right of the state overtakes all other rights. So it's always the state first. So while you think, well, that's good for all the people and no one person can get higher. What the problem is, though, they step on a lot of little people. Well, it's the same thing now with regular government we have now with the BLM. And them overriding rules so that they can take people's farms away from them for the government's interest. Nobody cares about the government's interest. I'll have more on this later. I'll break it down more point by point, but I just wanted to give you a kind of a heads up.